Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Wilson here with MMA fighter Alex Martinez. Alex, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. Just finished sparring, so yeah, I'm amazing now.
Yeah, great to have you on. Before we get started with our interviews, I want to tell our fans a story about you, which was amazing. I heard it from AJ Scales after your win over Adam Wayne at
hmm
Modern FC 1. Back, I think, January, February, a
23rd,
couple,
yeah,
yeah,
23rd.
23rd, right? And I remember AJ telling me a story, and he turned to me and I said, "Man, that fight was awesome. Adam Wayne, Alex Martinez was fantastic. No quitting either of those guys. Alex gets the win. It's great." And I said, "The guy was an interesting guy because you sat in the ring like an hour before the event started, and you're reading the Bible in it,
Yeah,
and I looked over, and you were so relaxed." And he was almost done. I walked over and I tried to feel the energy, and I was like, "This guy's cool. Like he's so calm." It was just an
that's
amazing thing.
cool to hear, man. Cool to
Yeah.
hear.
And then after, I remember AJ saying, "You know what, Jeff? That Alex Martinez guy really taught me a lesson." And I'm like, AJ Scales, everybody knows who he is, running the promotion.
hmm
And you were with Bill Mahood at the time. And in the promotion game, there's money issues. You've
Of
got
course,
your
yeah.
win. Yeah, you've got your win, you've got your bonus money. And AJ starts saying, "Listen, in order to make fighters more professional, you give them little check boxes, get your blood work in, get your medicals in, get this stuff in." And your stuff was like a couple days late, and
hmm
AJ and Bill were having an argument about
That's
what
my
you're gonna,
downside. Late. I'm always late, man.
right? Yeah.
Always my
And
downside.
yeah, but you're sitting at the back listening to these guys, and it starts to get heated. So you got AJ and Bill going after it, getting angrier and angrier. Some words are done here. It's like it's over maybe $300 in terms of bonus money, and it starts to get to this point, and AJ goes. Alex comes over as Bill and I are in each other's face. This argument. He grabs both of our hands and he says, "Hey guys, don't worry about this, man. Whatever the money is, I'm just gonna give it to charity." And AJ looks at you, and Bill looks at you, and AJ gives the full bonus. He walks out there, and they both kind of, with their tails between their legs, realize
Well,
they've just sat there and seen this amazing fighter sit back and go, "Don't fight, guys. It doesn't matter." And man, that is a rare moment. I've never seen a fighter do that before or hear that story from someone, man. But let me know, that's a special moment, my friend.
yeah, I bet, I mean, I understand why they were fighting. My coach is my coach, so he's defending me, and then the promoter is the promoter. He's defending, his promotion as well, of course, and they both are going at it. And then I already had planned for that money, so before going into the fight, whatever I was gonna get the money for, I already said, okay, whatever the money comes from, that it's gonna go to whatever I get. It's gonna go to charity, right? And then if things started to go weird, and then I was like, well, it's not godly, or it's not good for people to fight like that. So I was like, well, I guess that means that probably I should not be getting the money. And I say, I step up and say, well, that money is not going to be for me anyway. So whatever happens with it, it's not on my hands, it's on God's hand, right? And then
Yeah.
it turned out to be mine. So I was like, okay, well, I should probably give this away then.
Yeah, man, it was just an amazing moment, and that's why I'm one of the reasons I'm really excited to talk to you because you had such an incredible amateur career, and now you're
Mhm.
5-0, and you really seem to be really connected spiritually as well as down to earth, and your work ethic is crazy. So take me back, my friend. Let's
Mhm.
go all the way back to Paraguay. Let's go all the way back
To where it
to,
started.
yeah, to baby Alex Martinez when you were born. Tell me a little bit about your parents, what they did, and your journey as a little kid.
Okay, yeah. Well, so I was born in a third world country, which is, well, Paraguay. Right now, I think it's getting better. It's way better now. But life was rough there. I grew up seeing my parents working very hard to provide food for my family. I remember there was a point there where, um, I was still very, very blessed in comparison to the people around me, because I still had food every day. I still had clothing on myself. I still had heat. It gets pretty rough down there for the people that are poor. But still, I remember seeing times where my parents have to send me to my grandma's house so they can actually feed me because they didn't have food to eat for themselves. So they didn't have food for the family. So they had to send me and my sister to my grandma's. So then they starved themselves, right? So I grew up in an environment like that. As a kid, you don't really see much of that. But then when you grow up, you start realizing, oh man, I can see why they sent me there. It wasn't because they wanted a break for me or they just wanted me to go and have fun at grandma's. It was because they were starving, and the only way for me not to starve was for me to go to my grandma's house.
So they
And
so they would actually like say, "Hey, go to your grandma's." You think you're just having fun because you're a kid,
mhm,
but as you
yeah,
got older, you're like, "Oh, they wanted to make sure I got fed."
exactly. Well, I remember also I used to know, like, as a kid, I used to get disappointed a lot because it's a kid, right? So I used to always like, how you say, Christmas time came around, and I always expected a gift from my parents, and they never got me a gift, right? So I always used to get very disappointed because all my friends got a gift and stuff like that. And then, but I'm a kid, right? So I'm always expecting something from for Christmas or my birthday. And my birthday always seems to be the time where my parents didn't have any money whatsoever. We're talking about no money at all. We're talking about they somehow had to like pull money out of somewhere to be able to pay the rent, right? And used to buy some food. And then as a kid, I used to get very disappointed about moments like that. But when you get older, you realize that they actually were working their butt off to be able to provide, for food every day. And same thing, I started asking them, hey, when you sent me to grandma, it's like, what happened there? And they were like, well, we actually had no food for you. So, you know, yeah, but it wasn't as dramatic. Now that you get older and you think about it, I was like, wow, those were some hard moments, right? Some very tough moments. Even till today, we have tough moments, but I find it that we always have been very positive in our life. So, we can go through all those stuff. And yeah, so that's how I grew up. My dad was a Taekwondo instructor. And since then, right, so that's how he made his living down there. And my mother was a fitness instructor as well. So they both had a gym going on, running and stuff like that. So they make their living, and that's how I grew up. 5 years old, I think I was already kicking and punching. Well, as soon as I could walk, pretty much, to be honest. They already put me in the gym and started kicking and punching. I hated it till I was around 11. That's when I got, yeah, I didn't like it, to be honest. I hated, my dad always was like, okay, you gotta come train this time. And I was like, I don't want to go train. It's boring. They always took me to train after my nap too, right? So I wake up already all groggy and I had to go train. And I hated it. I didn't like it. And it was, so yeah, we went through all the struggles and stuff like that. Got to a beautiful childhood. I really enjoyed my childhood. I love my childhood. Whenever I think about it, it's always good things. Um, Going through all of that, around the age of 11 is when I started taking more interest into martial arts. So like Taekwondo was the one that I started with. And I just started pursuing Taekwondo more. And I got my black belt when I was, I think, 11 or 12. In Taekwondo you can get as a junior black belt. And I pursue it and pursue it. And then all of a sudden my dad had a chance to actually come to Canada to work as an instructor. So even though he was going to start from the bottom again, like in Paraguay, he already had a gym set. He was making good money already. Having a great life. He didn't think about himself. He thought, okay, yeah, we're here in Paraguay. It's a third world country in comparison to Canada. I want to take the risk to go, to go and bring my family into Canada. And everybody was like, wow, you're doing very good here. You should stay here. Your kids should grow humble, and all the stuff. But my dad was like, he's a very smart man. So he didn't think so much about himself. He thought more of like how I was gonna grow up, how my sister was going to grow up. And he did he did the sacrifice. He didn't see my mom for 4 months. So for 4 months they were just using messenger and texting and calling each other. So it was actually very rough to see that because they are always together. They were always together, whatever they did. And my mom not to have my dad like that. And we also being back in Paraguay, seeing my dad working hard at home. In 4 months, he managed to get us everybody into Canada.
So so when you say that amazing story, an amazing decision by
Mhm.
your father to do that, did he bring your mom and yourself? Did you have brothers and sisters as well?
Yeah, so I have one older sister, and then I have a little brother, so 10 years younger than me. So at the time, I was 14 when we moved to Canada, and then my sister was 17, and my little brother was 4 years old.
Right. And did you
So
move to Grand Prairie at that point, or when did you
no,
move?
we moved to Edmonton first, and we stayed there for around 2 years, and then we moved to Grand Prairie to open our own gym and stuff. So yeah.
Okay, so what? And then when he became an Taekwondo instructor, I'm assuming in Edmonton, where was he training out of? And then did he create Martinez Taekwondo in Grand Prairie, or how did that work out?
No, so he came to Edmonton and he was actually just an instructor. So he was just a paid out instructor. So like they brought him under a banner of institution, and then they just paid him out. And then that same company moved him down to Grand Prairie to so he can start opening a brand new branch almost and opening it and
Okay.
stuff like that. And then he just kind of branched out himself, and now we have our now we have a branch again that our family and we're all trying to run it, but at the same time it's a lot of partnership going on. You know how it goes, companies and stuff, so it's going well. So yeah.
So what that thank you for that. So what how do you get from Taekwondo, and I'm assuming you're helping to do some instructing,
Yeah.
and that how do you go from Taekwondo to MMA?
Yeah, man, that's a crazy story right there, actually, in a way. Like, it actually makes me a little bit anxious just thinking about the past, because so I remember around 17, I was just making on the junior world championship for Taekwondo and stuff like that. And I remember I was talking about, I started watching YouTube a lot. I was just into YouTube a lot, and I was watching martial arts, and I always wanted to find a way to prove that, because, I was in Taekwondo, I didn't want to be the one that sucks. I always want to find ways to be like, okay, Taekwondo is the way, Taekwondo is martial art, and I always kind of had this delusional mindset of like, oh, a Taekwondo guy can beat up anybody, it will be fine. You just gotta know how to train hard and stuff like that. So I started to watch videos of martial arts more often, and then the first one that I seen that was MMA. I actually used to watch Vitor Belfort back in the day when he always used to fight. Like my dad used to watch him, Tito Ortiz, and all those guys, right? The old UFC style, right? Now, when I moved to Canada, like I said, I was around 17, and now I started to watch more into YouTube and stuff. And the first guy that I ever started watching a lot, and I really fell in love with watching, was Anderson Silva. First guy to ever. I was like, oh man, Anderson Silva and all those stuff. And then I started talking about martial arts, like just as like martial arts more often. And of course, in school, everybody was asking me about like, what should you do when this happens and stuff, because I was in Taekwondo. So they were like, oh, this guy's in Taekwondo, let's ask him stuff. And somebody brought up George St. Pierre, right? I had no idea who George St. Pierre was. I heard of him a little bit because that was the time when he was really growing, right? It was around like 2008, I think, 2008, 9, when he was really like, coming up. And I had no idea who he was. And then he won a big fight. And I remember who he was, but everybody was talking about him. And I went to check him online again. So I checked Anderson Silva, and then I started checking George St. Pierre, and I was really falling in love with just the martial art. So then I was getting ready to step out now, and I wanted to compete on something harder. But I knew that MMA wasn't gonna be it, because I thought it was a stupid thing to do, right? Like I was like, oh, grappling, like who has to go to the ground? So I wanted to do professional kickboxing.
Okay.
And then now we already are in Grand Prairie at the time, right? So like I'm around 17, going to 18, and we're in Grand Prairie already. I went to a boxing gym and started saying, I want to do kickboxing, and I want to compete on big stuff. And they were like, oh, we don't have the stuff and blah blah. And I was like, well, I'm just gonna do whatever I can. So I started doing a little bit of boxing, right? And one day I just kind of expressed myself that I wanted to do MMA, and I just said it all of a sudden, just like I just want to try it out. And I went into the mats, and I got my butt kicked and stuff like that. Nothing happened, and I walked away from it. So I actually started training with my dad after every single Taekwondo session. We both used to just go to the ground on our knees and just try to grapple each other, try to see what we can do, try to pull up arm bars and stuff like that. Nothing that we knew, but we were just looking on TV and on the videos and trying to make something work. My dad actually knows a lot of self-defense, so he was teaching me a little bit of self-defense he knew. So we were just trying to get crafty to be able to compete, right? And
were you doing wrist locks and crazy
wrist
stuff?
locks, exactly, like things like that, like just grab the head and just guillotines, the crappy guillotines, arm bars that you don't even know how you're doing it, but you're just like trying to pull, and the guy taps because it just
pull the
hurts.
arm out instead of
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're not really leveraging. You're just pulling the arm up, and the guy taps because he hurts, not because he's actually working. And yeah, we were doing things like that after every single class, and then yeah, so then I was like, okay, like I already walked away on the mindset of wanting to compete in kickboxing because there was nothing that I didn't know how to get in there, and I wanted to start doing MMA because I started watching MMA shows in town and stuff like that. It was really booming at the time, and actually, a very good friend of our gym. Um, his name is actually Daryl Stobie, which is one of our projects coming up. Ian Stobie, who is very very good. He's gonna be the next thing from Grand Prairie. I think even from Canada, he's gonna be great.
What's his name?
Anyways, Ian Stobie. He's still very
Yeah.
young. He's only 17, so
Okay.
he's gonna be the next thing. Trust me. If he keeps going, he's gonna be the next thing. So yeah, just write that down. You wanna write
Yeah.
that down.
Yeah.
And anyway, so his father, Daryl Stobie, he kind of just told me, hey, I know this guy that does MMA, and he told me that's my brother-in-law. And I was like, oh, okay, well, like I kind of would like to train a little bit of MMA so I can start competing. So he took me to Dawson Creek. There was a show going on in Dawson Creek, and it was a very very small show. Like you can tell most of them were just amateur. And I think it was one professional fight, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was Jerry Revell who was fighting. I'm not sure, but he was fighting in Dawson Creek under Bill Mahood, right? So Bill Mahood was there, and that's why I went to Dawson Creek for. So Daryl Stobie is actually the brother-in-law of Bill Mahood, and Daryl introduced me to I call him Mr. Stobie. So he introduced me to Bill for the first time, and right away Bill gave me the rundown. He told me, okay, listen, you got your taekwondo going on, good. So you got to strike it. It's a good to know. But now there is something called jiu-jitsu. You need to start doing, like you need to start training jiu-jitsu. And I was already in my head like, well, I already did a little bit, so I'm fine. I'm good to step in the ring. And also I used to watch Anderson Silva a lot. Anderson Silva never went to the ground, right? He hardly ever did, right? And he always just knocked people out. And I was like, well, there's no need for jiu-jitsu. I can just knock people out with my legs. I'll be just fine. But as soon as Bill started telling me all this stuff, all these things going through my head, and I'm just kind of telling, yeah, whatever, like, and almost like my heart started to shrink down because, in a way, he's telling me that all of a sudden, it's like my dream is not possible because, I need to learn something that I don't have. There's no way for me to get it, and I just kind of like started to in my head, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm just gonna stop following this dream of mine and just focus on something else, like just maybe go back into the kickboxing mindset again, something that will be more possible because it's all standing up. And anyways, I left very disappointed that night, knowing that I was no, that was gonna be a lot of hard work, because now I have to learn a brand new martial art, jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. So it was very tough. And all of a sudden, Bill ended up moving. He ended up moving to Grand Prairie to start teaching, right? Well, he was not teaching. He moved to work with his wife, but then all of a sudden he wants to start teaching, right? So he wanted to start opening an MMA foundation in Grand Prairie. And I saw him at the gym that I was going to do boxing, and I came down the stairs one time and I was just working boxing. I look at him and I was like, oh man, that's Bill Mahood. But I was so shy, like I didn't have any confidence at all that I wanted to go talk to him. And I was also, kind of scared of him too at the time, right? If you see Bill, he's a scary man. And like I said, I had no confidence at all. And I saw him, he was working with a big guy, and that big guy was actually Carl Francori, who turned out to be, one of my best friends after, in a long time. And so they were always coming once in a while to train and stuff, and I always used to watch him on the side, and I used to just do my boxing. So I used to like do my boxing when I'm looking on the side, right? I'm doing my head in the bag, and I'm always looking on the side just to see what they were doing. And I was like, man, I wish he can just pull me under his wing and start teaching me. That's what I said. I was always telling to my head, but he never. It's not so much he never, like, I never stepped forward to say, hey, I want you to teach me, just because I was so shy, right? I wanted him to just be like, hey, you want to train? And I'm like, yeah, I'll jump on it, but it didn't work out like that. So one day he just announced that he was gonna do a jiu-jitsu class, an MMA jiu-jitsu class and stuff like that. And I was so excited. I went, I gave my all, and I think he brought like a crew from the good old Prince George, right? So the good old crew from Prince George, he brought down to make like a big class and stuff like that. And that's where it started, man. That's where everything started off. So it's like a long expressing, just weird things just fell in place all of a sudden. And then that's where everything started, man. And then
Yeah,
everything's
that
story.
that's an awesome story, man. And Bill Mahood is a. I remember training with Bill and Dennis Kang downstairs in a Muay Thai gym down here,
Yeah,
and it worked
me,
hard,
man.
and it's crazy. And man, but you did a ton of amateur fights when we
Mm-hmm.
look at it, right?
All under
So
me,
you
my
start,
hood.
so you start doing jujitsu, and you just start competing like crazy, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, as soon as I started, I didn't even do jujitsu for not even like a month. Well, almost like about a month, and I already jumped on. I jumped into fight. That was my first fight where I got TKO actually, and yeah. So like I just went in there and it just went crazy. I thought like in my head, I was very delusional. I thought I was gonna kill this guy. I had that. Like I tried to ask somebody that I was not. And I was like, I'm gonna kill this guy, like I got this. This is gonna be easy, right? So I was trying to act all calm and stuff. But this was like a cocky calm. Right now I have confidence calm. Before it was a cocky calm, and I was like, I'll be just fine. But I wasn't cocky because I was still very um, shy. Like I had no confidence in myself. But I still was, I was like, I got this. My kicks are gonna, blow him out of the water. I go there and I get TKO in the first 2 minutes. So
How's
huge eye
that?
opener.
How's that make you feel, man? Like, because
Depressed, man. I got so depressed, like super depressed. I got so depressed that I started seeking things out. Like, and that's when I really met God.
yeah.
And that's what really brought me up. But I got so depressed. I always believed in God, but if that didn't happen, I don't think I would have pursued it, right? But I
So
got so
how do you make your decision? You find religion and God, and that's amazing. Got to find something to get you out of that funk, right?
yeah.
And so you get there, and that gives you the strength to take your next fight, and then you go on this tear where, like, what changed at that moment, and how did you get through that? How do you get to that next fight after you get to that real depression? Is it just you just wake up in the morning someday and you're like, I'm gonna fight again, or
It
what
was it
happens
was
that
a
way?
lot of that, like if you check my record, for example, I fought that one, and then right away I kind of, like I said, I started working towards God. Everything just happened within like a month, I think. Everything happens right away, and I think I fought right away after that also.
Yeah,
um yeah, the
Dakota,
correct,
right?
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So I fought him right after, and so for me, when I found God, like he just gave me a lot of confidence, like just knowing that I was gonna be taken care of. That was the thing for me, I knew that God was gonna take care of me every single time, but at the
But
same
they,
time, I was still afraid.
yeah. So let's tell you, you get to that level where you got spirituality and God in your corner.
Mhm.
You lose to Paul. You have some fights that are canceled. You
Mhm.
beat Dakota, then you lose to Paul Cowie.
Yeah.
But the feeling is different after you lose to Paul, or what?
No, then okay, the fight against Paul Cowie actually was a lot of just mistakes that I made through my fight that I did not know till after the fight.
Yeah.
So, for example, last time, I fight Dakota, and I win that fight. I was very happy. I was very patient in that fight. My first fight, I rush in, I bum rush the guy, and I get dropped right away. He jumps on me and just starts pounding me out, right? So that's what happened. It was a lot of just you think you're gonna go and finish the first round. So not very smart of me. I go down in this downhill of depression, and didn't know who I was and stuff like that. I remember crying every night about it because I all of a sudden didn't know who I was anymore. That was my identity, right? Now I found my identity in God, and that's what really changed me. My identity was not in fighting anymore. When I started pursuing God, my identity was in God. So I was not treating myself as a fighter anymore. I was like, I am a fighter. That's what I do, but that's not what I am. I'm a human being. I'm loved by God, and I have His grace and all stuff. So I have all these great things talking to me now. All these great things that are going for me. So now fighting is not my identity anymore. So whether I win or lose, of course it sucks to lose. I don't want to lose. I work very hard to not lose. But at the same time, even though I lose, life is not over because all of a sudden, that's not my identity, right? At first, that was my identity. So I fight. I work on my patience, which was a big one. I work on my patience. I go fight against Dakota. So everything just went within weeks, right? So I work on my patience. I go fight Dakota, and that fight was just defined by patience because I finished him in the third round. And then I already had him hurt on the first round, but I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna take my time and just work my stuff, and then I keep on working like that all the way to the third round. The third round is when I finish him, and I jumped the gun because I know he was done and stuff like that. Now I'll go against Paul Colby. Now there was more just like errors, that discipline errors. So for example, I did, I trained hard and all the stuff. I did everything right like I should have, but I did not diet well. I was eating like crap. So the morning of the fight, so I actually lost that fight by decision, right?
Yeah.
And I just got gassed out the first round. So the morning of the fight day, I wake up with this bad diarrhea, and that's just because the night before I was eating Chinese food. So I was eating Chinese food. I was eating very garbage, eating all these garbage chips and stuff like that. And I wake up the next day and I have such a bad diarrhea. On top of that, I go and I tell my dad, "Hey, Dad, do you think coffee will hurt me?" He's like, "No, coffee won't hurt you." But he didn't know I had diarrhea. So he know coffee won't hurt you. So I go and slam a coffee. And what's coffee? Coffee is diuretic. So I wait. Yeah, so I waited in around 170. Well, we fought at 170, so I waited in 170. I was supposed to go back, just a little bit, like 175, because in amateur you really don't cut that much weight. To around 175, and I was dieting all the stuff. And I show up to the fight day. I weighed myself at 165. So now I was a little bit dehydrated because I was supposed to be at 175. That's my normal walk around weight at the time. Then I kind of just dieted down to 170, and I was supposed to show up around 173, 175 again. But now I'm actually 165, so I'm super dehydrated. And I'm doing, and this still, I'm thinking I'm gonna be fine on the fight, and I'm still go around and do whatever. And then when it comes down to fight, I'm not even focusing about the fight, and I go and fight like that. And all I had to do was, survive. I just survived that whole fight. That's what it was.
So tired, yeah. And so here's what through that, and I'm looking at your amateur record. Then you go on a tear of 8 wins in a row, and they're like almost every single month you start fighting. You're fighting every chance you get. Then you meet William Starks. You lose a decision at the World Championships. Then you go and win like 5 more fights. Then you meet William again, and you lose the decision again. And then you go on a tear in the pros where you're fighting even higher level competition, and you're undefeated as a pro right now. But it comes out here, William Starks. There's the 2 losses. You had your opportunity, and most fighters, when I talk to them, and you're like, what's either you become good friends with a guy like that and try to learn from him, or you're still waiting to fight him again as a pro. What was going on in that fight? Those fights?
No, for sure. Like it all comes down to the same thing, and always it just comes down to mistakes. It's like fighting. That's what people understand. Fighting is not so much about it's about who does things right, but it's also who makes less mistakes.
That's true.
Like people capitalize on mistakes. That's what it really comes down to. If you watch people win, it's because somebody made a mistake. They stepped wrong on the wrong moment, and they move this way here, they move this way there. They
give up the neck.
Right? Exactly. They went down and they keep the chain up, and then all of a sudden, it's very rarely you see guys making other people. It happens. Those are the grinders, right? They make people quit and stuff like that, right? Unless the level is so much higher. But when it's close level, it comes down to who makes the less mistakes. And it was just a lot of mistakes that I made. Like, for example, the first fight against William Stark, that was a good fight. That was a very, very close fight. So now I lost against him, right? Now I go back home and I work on the little things that I had to work, but I really did not work as much as I should have. Something that I should have really worked for that world championship was my wrestling. I did not touch the wrestling once. All I work on my sprawl, and I work on my double leg, and that's it. No single legs, no high clinch. I didn't work on any of those stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. So now I go on a tear again before him, because every single person that I went were not wrestlers. They were just good fighters, but they did not have a height of a pedigree wrestler as a Will Stark. So I met him in 2016 again, and guess what? He wrestled the crap out of me. So I did good. First round I did very good. Second round I remember I got him hurt on the first round, I think it was. And then we go on the second round. As soon as the second round hits, guess what? He doesn't strike anymore. All of a sudden, he just wrestles the crap out of me. He takes me down, I get up. He takes me down, I get up. He takes me down, and he just wrestles me out. So the lesson that I learned after that was, okay, well, I gotta start wrestling now because that's a big hole for my game, and that's the first time. As soon as I finished the World Championship, I went into my room, and I was thinking to myself, man, you suck. Like, why? Like, you worked so hard. You thought you were gonna win. You thought you were gonna beat him on the second time. So why? What happened? And then right away I was like, okay, why am I feeling pity for myself? Like, I just got second place in the world again. It's like, why am I pitying myself? Just be happy, go and fix on your stuff. And what do you need to? And right away after the World Championship, after he beat me again, I asked him, he's like, okay, how come you beat me again? Like, what do I need to work on? And he told me, bro, like, you're resting. You need to work on this and that and that. And I was like, okay, cool. I wrote it all down. I have a list, actually. I wrote it all down. Went back home. And the first thing I did was try to look for wrestling. And right now, today, my coach, actually, Adam Link, he's my wrestling coach. So, huge project. He helped me wrestling a lot. Now I actually wrestle a lot more in my fight. And anyway, so like I said, I found a gym. I got a wrestling gym, and I just started wrestling a lot more. And then that's why you see such a huge spike up after a game, because now I'm well rounded. Now I know how to wrestle, and I know how to tight clinch, and I know how to kick, and I know like pretty much all the basics, because I'm always getting better, of course. But I'm very well rounded right now.
No, I love
Yeah.
it, Alex, and thank you for sharing that with me. And I love the fact that you're giving that respect to William, saying what I got to work on, and that conversation has obviously
Mm-hmm.
made you an even better fighter. I want to go back a
Yeah, man.
little bit to the
Yeah, man.
dieting question, because we
Okay.
talked about what was wrong, right? And we
Yeah,
talked
yeah.
about but I always like to ask fighters now, like, how has your diet changed? And what was the biggest thing that you changed post pre-fight in order to make sure that you had the energy, and
Mm-hmm.
in supplementations as well? What are you taking in terms to make sure that you can perform at the highest level? Because when you look at like the fights that I've seen you do, you guys are nonstop for every
Mm-hmm.
single minute of every single round, and they are not, you're just go 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 go. And clearly it's not because of coffee and Chinese food.
Yeah, exactly. It's no coffee. Actually, you know what? This is what I do now on fight week. I still drink a little bit of coffee just because I enjoy it. I still try not to stay too much away from things that I enjoy, but I still discipline myself with it. Though I find discipline is huge. So what I do now is 3 days before the fight, no coffee, like no coffee at all. Just in case. One is for discipline, and the other one is just because that's just to show myself that's how much I want it, type of thing, right?
Yeah.
And but I don't do it longer than that, just because, like I said, when you're going through the struggle of fighting, there are some things you kind of have to take enjoyment on. Like for training camp is very tough. Like things are very rough around. It's a lot of emotion. So I'm like, you know what? I deserve this cup of coffee just to relax a little bit my mind, my head. Just because I enjoy to drink coffee just to enjoy. So, but like I said, three days before I get into that zone mode. And when it comes down to dieting, it's as simple as it gets, man. A lot more vegetables, a lot of water, cut down on the carbs, the heavy carbs, right? So, like for example, not as much pasta anymore. I used to eat a lot of it. I still eat pasta once in a while, but I don't abuse it. Bread, I start cutting a lot more. I love bread, so when it comes down to fighting camp dieting, I cut down bread a lot. So it's as simple as it gets, man. There's
Yeah.
no science to it. It's just eat a lot more greens. Make sure I get the right vitamins. Fruits, lots of water. Just eat really clean. That's what it really comes down to.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and it is. There's no magic. There's no
No, no.
magic pill that helps you with it. It is really the discipline at it, and
Mhm.
I love that. Now you've got a fight coming up in the country of Jordan, but what can we expect April 19th versus Anas Siraj Munir in Jordan?
Yeah, well, like I say, it's a brand new place to go, and a different fighter. So it will have to be the way that we're going into this fight is different in every single fight before. But as always, I'm always going to be myself. I'm always gonna work on my attributes and do my thing. And Anas Siraj Munier is a very good fighter. That the reason why I'm fighting him next is because I was already coming up very strong and doing very good. So they were they put the level, the bar a little bit higher, and they say, hey man, you know, this is your next challenge.
And I love it. 7-1 Anes Siraj Munir and 5-0 Alex Martinez.
Yeah, man,
Excited to
exciting.
hear. If people want to watch it, where can they go?
They will have to tune in on Fight TV for North America. Fight TV, that'll be FITE.TV.
Perfect, Alex. Well,
Yeah.
I'm so excited. We'll be tuning in for you in Jordan and doing all this international travel that you're doing. You're making yourself a real global name. But before we go, you've got this interesting relationship with your family and your father
And my coaches
and
too, yeah. My coach, teammates,
and your
all of them.
coaches and your coaches. And I want to ask you this question and to think about it. What's the greatest advice you've got from your father?
From my father, man, that's tough because you know that's like a lot of good stuff that he always tells me. You know, the good thing about my father is like he probably won't tell you much, he won't say much, but he walks the walk, you know. So like he the way he walks and he does things, you just learn a lot by watching, right? Like of course, you know, there's a lot of great things that he has. So like I say, to put it on the spot right now like that is very hard to find. But like something that I always see on him is just that he just has this something inside of him for greatness all the time, you know. Like he just doesn't care about what the world thinks. He's just always going to do what he has to do to get better. And like I say, you know, it's hard to just think about something he said, but there is a lot of good things that we're just watching him is, you know, it's something I want to emulate. He has that stoic mindset, right? So it's a great man to be around. Like I have learned so much from him. The man who I am today is because of my mom and dad, right? My mom as well. My mom is the gentle side.
Yeah. I love that, man, and I think that speaks volumes to what it is. It doesn't necessarily have to be an instant or words, but it's just that thing when you're around them, they raise you up. A rising tide raises everybody, right? And that's a wonderful thing for you to say, and I hope he hears you say that. What about when you're going through tough times? What about your coaches? What's some of the best advice you've got through your coaches and you're going through tough times?
Yeah, well, the tough times in MMA happens a lot, and Bill has been there for most of the time, you know, and same thing with my dad. So probably the toughest time that I have gone through is just 2 or 3 weeks before the fight, and you don't think you can do it. You know, all of a sudden you're just like, man, you know what? I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can do it. That's what you think, right? And then you know, you start training, or your training start to overtrain a little bit, and you're starting to break down, you know, without you realizing. And the coaches are like, man, you know, you'll be fine, you know, and just telling me that I'll be fine. That's something always Bill comes like, you're doing good, you'll be fine, you know. And he just gives me advice to overcome, right? So like both my dad and Bill, because I always break down in front of both of them. So which is, you know, that's natural. If I'm gonna be more worried going into a fight if I didn't break down than, you know, if I break down and go into a fight. So like when I break down into before my fight, I'm very happy that it happens, because I know I'm ready to fight. If I don't break down, you know, then that's no good. If I don't break down once, that's no good.
I love that description so much because it's so real and so honest. And I remember having conversations with Dennis Kang a couple months ago and other people, and they're like, listen, like the same emotions that you're going through, thinking you can't do this and I'm no good and I can't do this, are the same emotions the other guy's going through. And once you understand you're both there in the same situation, you can both get through it, and you go there. You just got to go through it. And man, I love the realness about what you just said there. I've had an incredible time talking with you, Alex, and I'm excited to see what you do in the country of Jordan. But before we go, anything more you want to add to talk about the coaches, your fathers, or your journey?
Yeah, for sure. Well, you know, my coaches are a big part of my life. Like, of course, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Bill, if it wasn't for my father. You know, my coach is my striking coach, and if it wasn't for Coach Adam Link, right? And then I have all my training partners and friends away. Like, I mean, you know, Firas Sahabi also helps me a lot. When I go down to Tristar. Kajan Johnson when I go down to Vancouver Tristar. You know, they have we have a great team. I have my teammates that always push me forward. I won't name all of them because it's a big good team, but they all know who they are. And man, I learn by. This is the thing about me. I don't just learn from one person. Like yeah, my coaches are there. They're the head, and they're guiding me through. But at the same time, I'm learning for each one of them. We have I have a teammate who have kids, and they're all saying he's fighting and he needs to put everything on the side. And I'm like, bro, I don't know how you're doing that, but you're freaking doing it. So inside me, I'm like, I gotta get a movie. A big one was actually my mom. She actually had cancer, right? So she had cancer. She was going through chemotherapy and she was coming home. I just finished training. She was coming home and I had a training, let's say in 3 hours. And I was like, oh, I'm so tired. I don't want to go, just being lazy, to be honest. She comes home and while she's all shaved up, she's on her chemo, and she grabs, she's like, oh, I'm gonna go running right now. It's like, how long are you gonna run for? 42K, man. She goes and runs a marathon just while she's on her chemo. And I'm like, well, I guess I gotta get up and go and train. And
That's
then
amazing.
yeah, man, bro, like hardcore, like all my teammates as well, they're like working full-time jobs and they go and train. They're going hard, and I'm like, man, I'm a full-time fighter. I'm training every day. I also have my work that I do too, but I still, like I'm looking at them. There's like, I gotta push harder, because it's different. My little brother as well. I remember I used to come home and I used to tell to my little brother, I don't think I don't think I'm gonna go train right now. I just want to stay here and chill. And he's like, you know what? Somebody out there is going away and training while he's eating his ice cream. And I'm like, he's eating his ice cream, telling me this stuff, and I'm just looking at him like, screw you, man. So I get out, grab my bag, and go train. So I go through that a lot now. So now I'm in that spot where I'm just like, I just learn how to push through things. So if I'm tired, I know that I just have to go and train. If I'm sick, I be careful, but I still go find a way to train. There is no really rest day for me anymore. I find rest, of course, when my body really needs. I never let myself overtrain anymore. That was a big one that I had to learn through my journey. And man, like I said, I learned from everyone. My sister, my brother, my wife. Actually, I'm married now too, so I learned a lot from her. She helped me a lot too. Just to become more of a gentleman for the world. I
Man,
was becoming
Alex,
a little barbaric. So
yeah, dude, I gotta thank you, my friend, because you are a special individual in terms of
thank
your
you,
skill
man.
level,
Appreciate it.
in terms of the way that you are grateful and you respect the gifts you have, as well as our light in the world, my friend. And I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to do this. So thank you very much. Good luck in Jordan, and I'm
Thanks,
sure
I
we're gonna
appreciate
do
it.
this again in the
For
next
sure.
6 months
Anytime,
or
man.
so.
Anytime. Yeah, sorry for taking too long, man. I didn't have any internet lately, so now I'm back home again. So yeah, all good. Thanks for that.
It's good.
Appreciate it very
Thank you,
much.
Alex. We'll talk soon. Bye for now.
Yeah, man. All the best. Okay, take care.